Hey everyone, it's Mallo, your host of IDENTECO After Dark and the creative director here for IDENTECO. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that this episode is brought to you in part by Gamers Heaven and their newest location just north of Seattle, Washington. There, in a family-friendly and welcoming environment, you can play tabletop or video games, read manga, or just relax with friends and sample some amazing drinks from their boba tea bar. If you want to learn more, log on to gamersheavenseattle.com to see hours and location. Now let's get on with the show. Hello, Fringers. The following podcast may not be suitable for all ages. Listener discretion is advised. Good evening, everyone. We are live on the IDENTECO airwaves with an all-new episode of IDENTECO After Dark, our live podcast where we talk about video games, TV, music, movies, and more. My name is Mallo. I am one of your hosts tonight, and I am joined by my co-conspirator for life. It's Alex the Humanoid.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey, we're having fun this week. We're talking superheroes again this week. I'm having fun. Welcome to everybody in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast later, come join us live every week, 7 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/IDENTECO. We have a lot of fun. We talk about all these fun things. And I see that you guys are listening to the podcast, and I see that you're watching the YouTube channel because I see the numbers. You're out there. I appreciate you. Just know, we see you. We appreciate you.
We do appreciate you.
Before we get started tonight, you'll notice there's an affiliate link down below for Hero Forge. If you are thinking about buying any minis for your IDENTECO games, maybe go down there and tap that affiliate link, you know? Just help out the show a little bit, because everything that y'all do helps us literally keep this going. We got a little thing going.
Oh, is that what it is? Minis for IDENTECO. So here's like a cool sword-wielding cybernetic person with
your camera doesn't want to zoom in at it
my
all.
camera
it's
does
weird.
not want to, but so these are actually so they will do full color 3D print.
Yes, they will.
That are not painted, but they're actually full rendered color in the 3D print. I would probably throw maybe a wash on it, but they're really solid quality.
Yep.
And they don't break. They're very sturdy feeling. I really love the Hero Forge stuff.
I might actually have to start putting the sponsored thing on this stream now. I don't know. Oh, you got the chain guy out again. Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. And so like you got this guy on a motorcycle with a submachine gun and like a big chain sickle.
Yeah.
And that one I did in the full 3D printed color. And again, it's really solid. Their designer is very intuitive.
Yeah, they keep adding new stuff to this. I go in there and play a lot. They keep adding new things to their designer all the time, and it's getting, there's a ton of obviously like D&D and Pathfinder and all of that kind of stuff if you're into the medieval kind of side, or if you like playing, the cyberpunk with IDENTECO and stuff like that, you can actually do both. They've got a lot of stuff for the cyberpunk and sci-fi kind of genres in there now,
you can
I'm
fiddle
so
around.
For. Yes,
one of the longtime IDENTECO groups down in Olympia, they made ROVs in there by using some of the heavier armor and stuff like that. So you can design ROVs for your IDENTECO game,
and now you can
Hero
make
Forge.
them to be XL. So you can do ROVs at the correct height now in Hero Forge. So go check out that link below and give us a little, hook us up. You can now get the STL files. I know a lot of people have 3D printers and stuff like that. Yep. So you can get the STL files and you just print them at home if you want to do it different ways too. So
they're not that expensive, the files.
Yeah. No, they're actually pretty inexpensive if you like to do the 3D printing yourself. So go check them out, Hero Forge. Also, if you want to support the show and you haven't already, go to playidenteco.com. There you can find everything for the show, including what we promised to you late last year was the errata document. It's coming. I worked on it today when I was supposed to be doing day job work, but it's coming along. I'm expanding the hacking section a ton. I came up with some crazy stuff in the shower last night. So we're now expanding the hacking section even more, which honestly, if you've been playing any of the games, Bit Player who's in chat, you get a lot of those kind of things. it's going to be fun. I promise you. So
Now,
just look forward to
correct
that.
me if I'm wrong. Some of the longtime followers of our game will recognize some things that got cut and maybe are making a comeback.
Possibly.
Possibly.
I think it'll be alternate rules because I think we've introduced too many people to the current rule set now. We can't go back.
We can. Yes, alternate rules. Some of y'all are going to see some stuff that we had talked about for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know if the skill tree will make it back in this particular version yet, because there's a lot more work that would have to be done to make that work. And too many people are really loving the intuitiveness of the point system. Especially as we do the Thursday game at Gamers Heaven. So far, people have really picked up on that and been able to sit down. And the thing that I love about it is that we've had a lot of new players of that game, and they've been able to sit down and do exactly like we used to do at cons. They sit down, they pick up a sheet, and they're playing within like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. They know what to do. It's intuitive. They're going for it. So 1,000 bits for speeding errata. I appreciate that tip.
It's coming.
Yep, and thank you for the gifted sub, bit player with a gifted sub, and tip with the gifted sub so far. So I appreciate that. See, this is the thing I like about doing the podcast. We can call it subs. When we're doing the live play RPGs, it's hard to do the shout outs in those. So
it is.
But so that's it. That's all of our announcements. Keep an eye out on the merch stores on all of those too, which I need to link down below as well. Because some goodies I was told from the sticker fairy that some goodies are going to be delivered to my door tomorrow.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of fun with that too. So take a look, get a heads up to the store tomorrow because it's going to be they're going to be more holographic. You guys tend to like the holographic stickers, I guess. So we're going to do some more of those. It's going to be fun. I think that's it. That's all we got for right now in terms of announcements and stuff. Tonight, we're all about DC. We've been talking about Marvel for weeks and months. Now it's time to give DC some love. Even though I personally don't usually hang out in the DC universe that much. This is usually Alex's claim to fame a bit on that side of the building. But I will say that there's some new stuff that's come out lately that's been worth taking a look at. Specifically DC Comics' new series Naomi, and it's on the CW, which is where most of the DC stuff is, except for Peacemaker's DC, right?
Peacemaker's DC and Titans.
And Titans, yeah.
Titans and Peacemaker are the two that are ongoing that are not on that network.
Yeah, Titans is on, what network is that on, if at all?
Titans is on HBO.
Oh, it's on HBO Max as well. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So it can have, real violence and stuff.
Yes. Yes, it can.
But yeah, no.
In fact, one of the first, it was Dick Grayson saying F Batman.
Oh, I remember that.
But he didn't say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was one of the first scenes is Robin beating the snot out of somebody, and this criminal guy's like, "Where's Batman?" And he's like, "F Batman." I'm like, okay, that's Robin's story. Is F Batman. Awesome.
I mean, I kind of like that though. It has the things that I've seen from Titans so far is it's got the dark humor of like an Umbrella Academy mixed with Teen Titans and stuff like that, and I really kind of appreciate that out of that show.
Yes,
I'm a big fan so far.
It's an interesting show.
Alex, you don't want to give away spoilers in this show. I know. It's up to 3 seasons too.
I was looking to confirm. Yeah, and here's the thing: it's a solid show.
Yeah.
And also, you'll like it if you were a big Game of Thrones person, because Jorah Mormont plays Bruce Wayne.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
An interesting casting choice.
Okay.
Yeah. Jorah Mormont is Bruce Wayne in Titans. Yeah. He's Batman.
I've just always appreciated. I love Teen Titans Go, which I know there's some weird people. People are like love hate on Teen Titans Go. I really like it. I've always liked Raven as a character, and so to see like a full on to see like a full on Tegan Croft to kind of play Raven. I thought, it's kind of nice to see that on live action at least, with a budget and stuff. So
why don't we go back, because you were the one that tipped me off to the Naomi show, because I was behind on that, because I'd been so Star Wars and Marvel focused. So tell the audience how you turned onto this show.
Well, so my little one's name is Naomi. My little one is also black, and also likes superheroes. So the first moment of frame 1 of this show, my daughter looked at me and with the big wide eyes that only a young child can give you, and be very excited to have her say that, she's black like me. And as we've gotten into the show, she's seen like the superpowers and all that kind of stuff. And, so it is amazing because representation, we've said this on the show a few times. Representation is super important, especially in the world of sci-fi, comics, all of that. And to have this come to the CW and be what I think is one of their flagship shows, they're certainly promoting it like it's one of their flagship shows. I think viewership is up for this show as compared to like Legends of Tomorrow or Superman and Lois. None of those are doing poorly, mind you, but for CW, non-Arrowverse CW, it's pulling in good numbers. It just hit its mid-season break. We are, I think we're on episode 4. Yeah, I think we're on episode 4 or 5.
4. And they're at their mid-season.
Yep. And it's going to be a short run, just like a lot of them nowadays. But Ava DuVernay, who did
a lot of stuff.
Well, she's amazing is the thing, but what was the most recent one that she did? Wrinkle in Time. She's also done. She's done some stuff about Venus Williams and stuff like that. She also did Scandal, which is a big.
She did Selma.
Yeah, she did Selma. Scandal's a big influence on Chaos Incorporated, actually.
Yeah, she's
a fantastic director, period, like hands down. But what she's been able to do with this show, so I'll give you a little bit of history. So the Naomi is a comic. It was only a 6-issue comic in like the mid 2000s, following a black alternate Earth human with superpowers. So think teenage black Superman. Because that's essentially what she ends up growing up to be in the comic book. And then she gets a 6-run series. She goes on to actually be in part of Young Justice and the Justice League. Like, she's on that power level with a lot of the other DC folks. Gets actually trained by Superman in the comics. I don't know if we're gonna have that. If we're gonna get that actually for this show yet, we'll see, as we're just in the first season. But this picks up and basically kind of starts to follow the first 6 books, or 6 issues of the series. It is taking slight changes from what happened in the comic series and maybe blending a few things from here and there, but not to such a degree that if you read the series like I did, then you are like missing out 100% on the show. Like, I think it's things that you can only get away with in TV that weren't done in the comics, and I think that actually smooths it over and does a really, really, really good job with the show. Because it's a teenager movie, it's got some teenage tropes about being in high school. It's actually set in Oregon, outside of Portland. And I would like to go on the record as saying there are far too many people of color in this show to represent where it is in Oregon.
Now, to be fair, it's supposed to be set outside of a military base.
Yes.
Which is the only reason there are that many people of color in a town in Oregon.
Yeah. That's not Portland, mind you. And even Portland's suspect. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I'm saying it's a military town, and they hit on that from episode 1. Like,
this is true.
They make sure you know This is a military town.
But with that said, the cast is fantastic as far as I can see. Like, the people they have playing are awesome.
I didn't recognize the dad at first.
Yeah?
Naomi's dad?
Uh-huh.
I didn't recognize who that was. And I was like, when I was reading a thing on it, I was like, wait, that's him? And I'm like, holy crap, that's him.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, what do you know?
Yeah.
He's actually working again.
Yep. That's Barry Watson, right? That's
yeah, from Seventh Heaven.
From Seventh Heaven, yeah. Barry Watson from Seventh Heaven is the dad.
Like, I have not seen that guy in a long time.
Yeah. It's interesting because they're playing up his character very differently. And so I don't know. I think I don't know. We'll see how that whole thing plays out, because there's something from the comics that I don't want to spoil the latter half of the series. But there's some stuff that's in the comic that I don't know if they're going to incorporate necessarily into the show or not. But I don't know. It's just I am Team Lourdes. Like, there's some interesting things about this particular character that they keep hinting at being a hair more alternative than maybe even what was in the comic, and I love that they are embracing some of that and embracing some of the there's some tropes of, you know, teenager in high school, and then there's some tropes of the superhero genre, and then there's this like gray area in between where like there are moments where Naomi looks really, really grown up, and then there are moments where you're reminded like Naomi is like a sheltered kid in Oregon. And it flips back and forth pretty well between those. But the supporting cast with like Dee, Zumbato, Lourdes, all of them, Annabelle, Annabelle's actually one of my favorite characters. She's got that wise ass sidekick just down to a T, and I love it.
The mom's a little forgettable to me. That's the only one where I'm kind of like, meh. You know, like...
Yeah. And I honestly think, I don't think it's for lack of trying. I just think it is, there's only so much screen time for all of them. She gets a little bit more... What's that?
I think it's the writing. Mm-hmm.
It could be. She gets some more screen time later, because you're not fully caught up, I think, on this particular episode. There's some more screen time in episodes 3 and 4 that she gets. It's still not super overwhelming, right? It's not a ton of screen time. It's just kind of there. But you know, it's not as bad. But I think you've got an assembled cast, and they're going to introduce even more people, and they have introduced even more people than the first couple episodes. So I do feel like she's probably going to get a little bit more of the back seat, sadly. You know, and that was the way it was in the comics too. Like, there's only so much.
So, there's a couple things about this where I'm like, okay, it very much feels like a CW show. And then there's some others, and I think that the biggest difference from a production side is Greg Berlanti, who is the guy who has spearheaded the Arrowverse from the beginning, is not involved in the show at all.
Nope.
Now, he is involved on the DC side, and he has a position at DC within Warner, which is who owns DC Comics and DC, the film side and the TV side. He has a position within DC where he kind of oversees a lot of stuff. DC doesn't really have a Feige.
And we've talked about this. They need one.
They need one. They don't really have a Feige. Berlanti is probably the closest one to it. So what's interesting is he's not involved at all. Now, but again, it's still a CW show.
It is still a CW show.
So if you go into this show being like, well, I'm expecting blankety blank blank blank, you're gonna walk in and just be disappointed.
If you're expecting Arrow or Flash, it's not that. It's not quite that.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be its own thing, and that's a good thing. But what I'm saying is there's just certain elements, whether you watch that All-American show on CW, which is about the kid who plays football, or you watch all the Flash stuff and the other stuff, or you watch all the other crap that CW pumps out. Riverdale.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of. I've never seen Riverdale. I've only seen the promos for it, but it's got a little bit of that on there. But Riverdale's like almost to like HBO's Euphoria in like craziness, isn't it? Like,
I think it's gone beyond.
Okay, but there's some shit in Euphoria season 1 that like.
Look,
excuse my French. I know we're trying not to cuss on the podcast because it gets rebroadcast now, but there is some stuff in Euphoria season 1 that like, woo!
I like Joe in the chat. He's like, that's my secret, Captain. I'm always disappointed. Look, every show, and this is one area where I feel like this show bears some similarities to all the other DC shows that they put on the CW. There's a little bit of melodrama to it.
A little bit.
Right? And in this particular case, this is the first time that the central character is a teenager.
Yes.
Like legit, like she is 16 in the show.
Yep.
Okay. So that is going to lend itself to a little bit of melodrama. And if you don't just have that in your head, you're going to be like, what is this nonsense? No, it's not. But you got to remember, kids are melodramatic. They're kids. That's kind of what they do.
And it's the thing about it though that I think that Ava DuVernay and like her production team is basically like the same ones that all made Selma and like a ton of other things with her. Like she's bringing her crew in. So that's the, like when you meant it's not Berlanti, that does give this a completely different flavor.
It does.
Then I mean there's the CW sheen as I call it, because you look at every promo for CW and they all look, there's all like they sit it to the same colorist.
It's like the Marvel color palette.
Yeah. It's just the DC CW palette, basically.
Yep.
You know,
this is how we shoot shows. That being said, it's a little more mystery-y. There's a little more mystery to it.
Yes.
It's definitely got some mystery box elements, some Abrams-esque mystery box stuff going on there. From the first episode with the disc and some other stuff, and you're like, ooh, what's the disc? What's this?
Yeah.
It does not take place in the same world as the Arrowverse.
That we know of.
No, that's confirmed now.
Okay,
now.
So
that being said, that's never stopped them in the past.
Right.
Okay.
So the premise of this entire show, by the way, is that many of the people in this small Oregon town are from alternate versions of Earth or other planets. So
yes,
in true DC fashion, they love to play with the metaverse and all of this kind of stuff.
And so this is where we'll get into it. The CW's Arrowverse. Sean's heard me do this a lot of times. I am a long defender of the CW's Arrowverse and how CW has treated its DC comic properties. With rare exception, I think that Berlanti and Co., because he's had some other producers in there that did like Black Lightning and some of the other stuff, I think that they have succeeded on multiple levels. They have built a super full world that has a lot of depth and characters and heart to it.
Don't get distracted with me talking to chat.
I see the little thing trapping out here.
Yeah.
I think that they've stuck to some certain elements in the comic books that the movies have never managed.
Yeah.
On the subject of representation, right? Like they have made a concerted effort, and they've done it sensitively, right?
Yeah.
Like they had one of the first, in fact, the first, I should state, the first trans superhero on one of their shows who was played by a trans woman.
Yep.
Right? And she was consulted on how that storyline should be written. Right? Black Lightning. Black lead for a superhero show. And that's still ongoing.
Yep.
Right? They've never shied away from having the LGBTQ, and I'm just rattling stuff off, the LGBTQ community represented in very open and honest ways on their shows. They don't shy away from that stuff, and they should be commended for it. Again, yes, there's some melodrama. Yes, the first season of Arrow, a full third of it was Stephen Amell with his shirt off.
I'm not complaining.
Okay, I'm just telling you. Okay,
there's a whole montage of it on YouTube if you want to go catch up.
There's a lot of him doing the Jacob's Ladder. With the thing.
Yep.
Like
it's. I mean, the half of Arrow season 1. If you overlay a 1980s pop song over it and just cut it all together, it's one of those 80s training montages. It really is.
Arrow had other issues too. Arrow did have other issues. Look,
yeah.
So this is my thing that I get with a lot of people with the CW. Things that they're willing to overlook in shows from different networks and different properties, they're not willing to overlook for those shows.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
And that's I think the thing that's always bothering about it. I'm like, you overlook this stuff. Like, look, I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. There was some bad acting in that show. We kind of go, look, you're not going to hit it out of the park every time, right? I think Grant Gustin makes a good Flash. I think Melissa Benoist made a good Supergirl. They just ended that show.
Yeah.
I think that Stephen Amell made a good Arrow. Because I already saw those superpowers doesn't make any better.
Hold on, I'll read it out. It's like Chad just said, I just don't like the CW shows because I already saw Dawson's Creek. Doing it with superpowers doesn't make it any better. And I would disagree with that because superpowers make like everything better.
Everything better. Now here's the thing.
Just saying.
Their version of Crisis on Infinite Earths, I do not think can be done better in a movie.
Yeah,
it can't.
Well, it definitely won't if Zack Snyder and JJ and all them were involved.
Yeah. And here's why.
Stark's Creek.
Stark's Creek. Nice. Thank you, chat. They have time. Okay. Crisis of Infinite Earths was 5 episodes of television.
Yes.
Right? Over 5 nights, which at 44 to 46 minutes per episode is a 4-hour film, which you're just not going to get away with in the movies. And consequently, they're able to dive into things and do things that are much deeper and much more complex than you can do in a film. And I thought it was really, really well done. The stuff with the monitor and the anti-monitor, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was fan servicey without being too crazy. Which is again coming back to this Naomi show. Yes, right now it's unconnected.
Yeah, it's unconnected right now.
What they did with Crisis is they fixed their DC cinematic universe by using the Berlantiverse, because they brought the Flash from the Snyder Justice League and brought him into the CW Crisis and was like, here I am. See, look, alternate universes.
It still won't fix the DC cinematic universe.
Now, here's the thing. The reason I think it helps them long term is this. Now going forward, we can have the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and it can be completely unconnected from the Batman with Robert Pattinson, and completely unconnected from Suicide Squad and this Peacemaker thing, and unconnected from Titans. And they've got a very easy thing for them to point to. Look, see? Alternate universes. Yeah. Just a bunch of them.
I just don't know if enough viewers care the way that they do with the Marvel stuff being connected, because they just
and maybe
they haven't tried well enough.
But
frankly,
it gives them an out. And so I thought it was good. Isn't immune to it. That's why I didn't watch any of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. Joe is not feeling well, by the way. Everybody in
you
chat.
Act like he wouldn't have that reaction if he was here.
I think he's worse right now. Jeez. Yeah. Realize one season of a show is equal runtime as a Snyder kind of entity.
Yes. All right. So here's something that I'm gonna say that in looking, so Naomi in this particular one gives a much different view, because in my house, obviously, we do this show. This is part of our job. We do this show every week. We keep up with all of this stuff pretty heavily, and I follow. I've mentioned on this a few times. I follow a ton of other YouTubers and podcasters and stuff like that who talk about this in depth in my day job as a writer and things like that. So these are the things I nerd out on. But even when I know how the show's supposed to go, and I know where they're pulling the material from and all that kind of stuff, it's one of the few sort of inside baseball things we get to do if you've read comics and stuff like that. It's interesting watching this show through the eyes of a young child who's never experienced any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And why I believe that TV does what movies will never be able to do in telling long form stories. Even if there's only going to be 8 episodes, it's they can do what comics can do. And you mentioned the what's in the box kind of piece. That's what these shows and the writing schemes of things have been able to do so well to a newer audience, is give you something impactful, multiple impactful things, and then leave you with a cliffhanger to come back next week. So, and hold on, not done. Go ahead. The other thing that it can do that movies cannot do is pull multiple threads. And I think Ava DuVernay and her group on Naomi, and maybe like some of the old Arrow stuff and all like that too, you've got A plot, B plot, C plot, like all of these things. And then, oh, by the way, the D plot is over here, just Naomi being a teenager in high school, right? There's layers like a cake on this kind of thing that movies will never be able to kind of touch with that. And I feel like that's something that people aren't giving enough credit to maybe some of these DC shows and stuff like that, that I actually think, and we'll maybe get into this in a little bit, but like Marvel doesn't do in their shows. Not as well. Not as much. They're more polished in certain things, but not as well.
I'm gonna agree with you, and the payoff is longer. One of the things, and I'll tie it to Arrow, and this is why I have hope for this Naomi show, long term. Mm-hmm. In the first couple seasons of Arrow, he was a killing fool. Yeah. He killed everybody. He was like, Arrow through the net.
Did somebody mess with his dog? This John Wick in the DC universe?
He John Wicked it up for the first couple seasons. The nice thing was, later on, I want to say this was season 5 or 6, that really came back. Like, they were able to use the long form of TV, use the series element to be like, there are a lot of people who are upset. You killed a lot of fools out there, Oliver.
Yeah. And now what? It's the thing it's actually going to draw a parallel to Hawkeye, and it's not just because they both use bows. It's that Hawkeye was another one of those series that has a lot of subplots going and setting up the next thing. And I think that they can only do that within TV. And DC can just keep pumping out these shows. If they're going to keep the quality bar high, I think they really can keep pumping out these shows and really take it a few hundred steps forward. And ditch the movie stuff. I don't know if they're making money off the movies or not. Not really, I don't think. But figure out how to get that ad revenue in there.
Yeah, and again, I think you and I have talked about this. I agree with you 100% on the TV thing. I personally feel that right now, TV is a better medium than cinema.
Yeah.
Right now. The big difference being that CGI and special effects are so much cheaper now. Yeah. So they're much more accessible for television shows. You don't need... So you don't need a giant budget to do some CGI. You could tell longer stories. I think they've learned that the audience is sophisticated enough. I think that's the one good thing that came out of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Is they learned that their audiences were much more savvy and sophisticated than they believed they were. And so they're like, we can throw... I mean, Game of Thrones threw 40 characters at them. We're just doing like 12.
Yep.
They're good, right? Which opens up a lot of possibility.
It also opens up longevity.
And it opens up longevity.
And the chat... Well, go ahead.
Chat's saying that I find the storytelling, because this bleeds into your longevity comment, the storytelling in an 8 to 10 episode TV series better than a 22 episode season.
Yep.
There's something to be said for that. And we can chat about that. But
8 to 10 hour long episodes. Yeah, no, 8 to 10 hour long episodes. You can pull in a lot of subplots, and you don't necessarily, in every TV show, if you've moved the plot forward a yard, if you're thinking like a full-on football field, 100 yards in a football field or whatever. If you move the main plot 1 yard down the field in a TV episode, most of the time the viewers are going to be very happy. You don't have to do the Hail Mary pass that most movies have to do in a shortened amount of time, and then debate the editing. There's more time spent in the editing room of most movies than there is actually on set half the time, because of how many boardrooms and all this kind of stuff that goes on. The beauty of the TV is that if one version of the show doesn't work that week, that's fine. You got another one coming right up, and you're gonna have these waves, and it's gonna be fine.
Conversely, you also don't get away with as much on TV, and I think that the TV people are much more cognizant of what they're writing and how they're writing it, because here's the deal. It's a lot easier for people to be like, I'm not tuning in for the next episode. Like when you go pay for when you go pay for Justice League, the Whedon version of Justice League, it doesn't matter if you walk out halfway through, you still paid your money, right?
Except for me. I didn't go.
Me neither. I watched it on a plane. Whereas week-to-week ratings for television shows, where if you fumble a couple of times in a row and start losing viewership, that's your job.
I think that is going to, this is my prediction, but I think that is going to fundamentally change in the ad ratings. The way that ads have been served up to customers was what drove that. And with many, many alternate forms of advertising, including streaming media and all of the, buying rights and stuff like that, I think that you're going to start finding the ways that they are judging these shows to be more holistically via the season versus the week-to-weeks. And so the thing about Naomi on the DC is it's not coming to Netflix, so it's not coming to paid piece, but you can buy every episode everywhere else, though. Which is actually how I used to watch Doctor Who before I had cable again when I first moved to Washington.
So that brings us to our business side of it, and why I'm a little afraid for the show. So, one of the reasons it's not moving to Netflix is the CW, which is co-owned by Warner Media, who owns DC, and CBS, which is owned by Viacom, right?
Yeah.
They are trying to sell the CW currently. Now, all of the CW DC shows have started to migrate over to HBO Max, which is where I imagine, because the other one they released like 2 years ago, Stargirl on CW, it didn't go to Netflix either. It went straight to HBO Max after that. And so I'm worried for Naomi because with the CW being sold off, that's where these shows kind of get screwed. Where even if they're good, right, Warner's going to have to make a decision, and I don't know how it's structured. It depends on who buys the CW and what the nature of that deal is. Whether they're going to be able to suck it back and go, all right, we're going to stick it on HBO Max now, or whether they're going to leave it with the CW under a licensing agreement with whoever they sell it to. And that's if the person they sell it to doesn't rebrand it, because the CW didn't used to be the CW. It was the UPN and the WB networks merged.
Depending on what time of the day you started watching it, too.
Right. And they merged and became the CW about 13 years ago.
No, it's been longer than that.
I looked.
It didn't merge because UPN carried all of the black shows.
Sorry, it is longer than that. Both launched. Hang on. Both launched. No, it was 2006. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little bit longer.
2006. Yeah.
That was the thing that the UPN was always. We always used to joke that the UPN, the UN is standing for urban, because it would show, In Living Color, and the Cosby Show, and all of those, classic shows, and Martin, and very heavily on the Martin and stuff like that. Like you would have that. It was like your urban focused everything. And then when the WB came on, it was the weirdest thing too, because it would do where I grew up, at least, it would do this switch from the UPN channel to WB at night so Dawson's Creek and Buffy could come on. It was the weirdest fucking thing. Excuse my French, but it really was, And then they lost.
They were separate channels until the merger.
Yeah, well, back where I came from, we didn't have enough channels for that, so we had to the prime times turned over to the CW.
VT Pilot says, speaking of HBO DC shows, Peacemakers was surprisingly great. Also, best TV intro I've seen in a long time.
I've heard that. I haven't watched a lot of the Peacemaker stuff.
I need to catch up on it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, TV, DC has done way better with TV than they've done with film. That being said, I'm looking forward to the Batman. I really want to see it.
I can't decide if I want to sit 4 hours for a movie.
That's the only thing that I'm like. Now, actually, sorry, it's only 3. They screened a 3-hour and 55-minute version, and they've cut it down to 2 hours and 55 minutes.
Okay.
So it's like Endgame all over again.
Yeah, but it's got like 50 other, and again, it's got the DC sheen all over it. But I will, to go back to your piece about the business just for a second, though.
Yeah.
Where I think Naomi is actually going to succeed, because having Ava DuVernay attached to a project and using her clout to get it out within the Black community has actually spurred DC to put out a new season of the Naomi comic book. And so you're starting to see where DC might be actually putting 2 and 2 together and going, hey, maybe let's put out some different types of content out there now. And now we can, do some of that merging of properties and stuff like that and actually make some money here.
They may suck it back to HBO.
It could be.
HBO, HBO Max doing really well. They beat their forecast end of last year. They're at 74 million subscribers. Again, I know they've moved a lot of their other DC stuff for after the fact over to HBO Max. That's where you can stream it at. Hopefully they do.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where it's going. I think CW will turn into something completely unrecognizable. Y'all can keep Riverdale.
I'm actually okay with that because I need to use HBO Max more. I need to watch Peacemaker, even though you can't see the main character in it. But like, I need to be able to just kind of catch up on some of those shows, because beyond what I don't like any of the DC films, and that's one of their major selling points on that particular thing. But like Euphoria, which we talked about, that has Zendaya in a completely different role than what is in Spider-Man. I really want to see that's going into its 2nd season. There's obviously, I never got onto Westworld, but I kind of feel like I really should. There's going to be the new House of Dragons show coming up. I just put it on the background kind of thing. Yeah. House of Dragons is coming up. You want to see David Tennant as a freaky
Matt Smith.
I'm sorry, Matt Smith is a freaky dragon person. That actually has me a little bit intrigued, even though my butt's still chapped a bit from Game of Thrones. And as far as I'm concerned, I would like to just start the Alexander Wraith appreciation episode for his portrayal of D and how cut his jaw is. I'm fairly certain that De Beers is using it to cut diamonds for them when he's not filming the show. But at the same time, I absolutely love the way that he's playing the like Zen mentor in this. And I'd love to see him in other shows.
I'm going to say this wrong. Zambudo?
Zambuda, I think. Yeah, you're talking about the Zambardo, I think.
The car salesman.
Well, he's one of the main villains.
I know, but I'm calling him the car salesman because that's how they introduce you to him.
True.
He's the sleazy car salesman who sells cars for too much money outside the base. And I love, by the way, as a veteran, like I loved that reference. I was like,
Zumbado. That's how we pronounce it. Zumbado. I had to look it back up because I'm like, we're not doing that right.
They have a veteran on the writing staff. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we're going to make this guy a used car salesman outside of a military base. And they'll refer to the fact that he gives them cars for too much interest. And he'll be the bad guy. And I was like, y'all been to Fort Bragg. Fort Jackson.
That's true. That is very true.
Y'all seen that strip of car dealerships right outside the gate, okay? Yep. Somebody on your writing staff is a veteran.
Cranston Johnson, though, Cranston Johnson plays Zimbardo in the show, and I've read the series, so I don't want to give away too many spoilers. He plays obviously a very pivotal character in the series. You can kind of figure that out, and it's not too much of a pull. But like, I'm very interested to see how they continue to play out his character, because his acting in that role right now is menacing, creepy, but also like you can't not watch. Like, it's just like when he's on screen, I'm like, what is he going to do? This is going to be insane. So yeah, and then Casey Wellfall, like her portrayal of a very confused teenager having to deal with the fact that, much like the X-Men animated series, when she starts going through puberty and all like that, then all of a sudden her powers magically manifest. And in very short order, having to learn her background and stuff. Like, I just think that she's done such a great job portraying this whole piece of both a very vulnerable still child, but then a like young woman who is looking to maybe supplant and put her place into the world or universe, I guess, in DC. So I don't know. I can't say enough great things about how they've presented that dichotomy so well so far. And we already talked about Mary Charles Jones as Annabelle, who is probably the comic relief part of the show. I love that. There's just some really fun stuff in there. And then Stephanie March shows up again. She showed up in like everything, which is ironic because I think both she and Alexander Wraith, who plays Dee, weren't they both also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in small roles as well? And then Dee was also in The Mandalorian season 2 or episode 11 or chapter 11, I think. He was in that too. It's like there's some hella crossovers going on.
See, Stephanie March, I was thinking from Law and Order SVU.
Yes. Actually, Alexander Wraith has been in an episode of that too. So he's a true actor because he's gotten his cameo in SVU. So yeah. So there you go. Everybody's been in SVU though. Everybody's been in SVU. By the way, well, actually, we can hit that in quick hits towards the end. I want to be in an episode of SVU. I don't even I haven't had my chance yet.
You're gonna have an opportunity. We'll get that in quick hits. Back to the chat. One of us sees the quick items of Picard season 2 with what was latest shenanigans. I doubt it. Her comments, while extremely insensitive and very wrong, don't rise to the level of we need to cut her out of the film or the show. Picard, by the way, has already been greenlit for seasons 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Even before season 2's out. They're very, very happy with it. This kind of goes back to what Mallo was talking about how they evaluate shows. You're hearing that more now, where they'll film a show like Mandalorian. Mandalorian was greenlit for season 2 before the first episode of season 1 aired. That's how confident the executives at Disney were in it. Again, CBS, same deal with Picard. They're so confident in Picard season 2 that they're like, yeah, season 3 and 4, go.
Yeah.
Just do that now. Great. In spite of the fact that CBS, I think, lost 700 billion on that. Oh, 700 million.
Yeah, 700 billion would be one thing we wouldn't have.
700 million last year and 1.4 billion this year.
Yeah.
On Paramount Plus.
I think that's part of their building gear though in Paramount Plus, because they still need to kind of define a little bit of like what Paramount Plus is, and they got some brand work to do. HBO was able to bring out Sex and the City reboot, which is terrible, but it's known well, and they had the whole Peloton thing that came out with that.
There's something I want to ask you on that whole build concept though.
Okay.
So I heard an interesting comment the other day, and you were talking about CBS and Paramount, they're doing the build-up. Now, the difference is that whether it's Warner Media, which owns HBO, or Paramount, who owns CBS, or Disney, these other companies can be like, we can afford a couple of years of this, we're good, because we still have film releases and other stuff.
Yeah, they got multi things.
Somebody I heard the other day commented that Netflix knows they're on borrowed time, because everybody's pulling the stuff that was Netflix's top performers, like The Office, is now back on Peacock.
Yep.
Netflix doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Netflix doesn't own a Universal that releases films. Netflix does not have a Disney where they have an Encanto or whatever to release these things, to be like, fuck it, if we lose 500 million this year on this thingy, we're fine. And Netflix was already really in debt. Do you think that in the end, while Netflix managed to wreck Blockbuster, do you think in the end Netflix takes a dive?
Yes.
Unless it can
they don't have it. unless they can keep pulling together things like Don't Look Up, and they can...
Which didn't do well.
I heard a lot of people talking great things about it, but it is esoteric in the way, like, it's, what is it? Were we talking about this on the podcast where I was like, is it Idiocracy for this generation?
Yes,
or was that
it is.
thing? Okay.
Yes. And the issue is the metric that leaked that apparently Netflix and HBO and most of these are using. It's why HBO wasn't happy about the Zack Snyder Justice League performance. Is they've got this metric called first watch.
Yeah.
Where they go, because right now it's once we have you, that's recurring revenue. That's great. Yeah. What we need to know is what's bringing these people in.
Yeah.
And so for like HBO, they go, when you subscribe to HBO Max, what's the first thing you watch for more than 10 minutes?
What do I watch? Or
no, I'm saying they're looking
to be like, what?
Subscribers. It's a data point they look at.
Yeah.
Right? Once you sub, right? You have subbed. I signed up. What's the first program you navigate to and watch for more than 10 minutes?
Right.
A lot of Netflix's stuff, the first watch rates are not good.
Yeah.
They're not bringing in new subs, and Netflix just had a price increase.
I will be honest with you, every time that I see these price increases for this, my gut reaction, first off, is to just cut again. Because I've cut Netflix a couple times, because like you were saying, there's not enough there. They don't have the series to bring it in. If I can get my little ones to not want to watch anything on Netflix and just stick with Disney Plus or something else, I'm going to pull it, because I don't need to watch that much stuff on Netflix. I don't go back and watch a ton of other shows.
There's some good.
I just don't
there's some
do
good
it.
Anime on Netflix.
There is, yeah.
But I said, I just wonder how long it is before Netflix starts running into problems, because they're, with rare exception, Netflix kind of produces a lot of original material, most of which is
B movie. Yeah, it's B and C rated stuff to fill out their things.
It's a lot of romantic comedies. It's a lot of stuff like that, with an occasional.
They need to
Love, Death, and Robots.
They need to become the New Line Cinema of this generation. If they can pull that off.
Explain that.
So, New Line Cinema.
I'm curious where you're drawing the analogy.
So, you remember that, like, New Line Cinema had a ton of, like, shows that were like Nightmare on Elm Street, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, clear, like, really good movies for the time that don't hold up well at all. But they were good for the time.
Ninja Turtles 1 and 2 hold up great. Secret of the Ooze is still awesome.
Yeah.
I will fight you.
But, like, think about, like, and I'm talking, like, mid-90s New Line Cinema, where they, like, created The Mask, Austin Powers. Like, these are, we love them, but are they Oscar-worthy stuff? No. But they are the thing that kept bringing people out to the movies. If they can do that for TV, because, again, I don't think Netflix is... Their winning model is not going to be having movies on there. I think it's gonna be where they have
Stranger Things.
You're gonna have a few of those. Like they gave up on the TV division for some reason, and
where is Stranger Things season 3? By the way, like, I know it's coming, but where the hell is it?
I do not know.
Come on, Netflix, get on that. I'll wait to cancel until after I see Stranger Things season 3.
That's another one I haven't watched. I'll have to see.
I didn't. I thought initially I was going to be kind of meh on Stranger Things, and I thought actually, and you know, my spouse, she's not a big like horror or monster movie person, like not at all.
Yeah,
loves Stranger Things.
Interesting.
Loved it.
I do want to come back before we get off the CW, because we did a little bit of a Netflix run here. The CW is bringing back the best sci-fi TV show of all time in Babylon 5. I'm more excited that it'll be on HBO Max, because I'll just probably watch it there, because I watch just about everything on demand for the most part. I am interested to see how they are going, if it's going to get the CW sheen over it, because if there was ever a TV show that could have used a hair bit more CGI budget back in the day, it would have been that.
I mean, if they get the same level of CGI budget as Flash, Supergirl, and Superman and Lois,
yeah,
I
think we'll be okay. J. Michael Straczynski is back in charge of it, and when we were talking about A plot, B plot, all the subplots and everything like that, that was another one of those shows where, you had these long arcs throughout the season. And they did such a great job getting in the weeds of these long arcs and telling such a built-out story. And if the CW and Warner Brothers is out there watching, let's be honest, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. If you want a Babylon 5 RPG, I got a system for you, and I got all the backstory of Babylon 5 at my disposal, ready to go. I'll work with J. Michael all day long. We will pull the whole thing together. Like, how awesome is just the idea of having an RPG set on a space station with the ability to take out the starfighters and stuff like that? That's fantastic.
There is no current publisher.
No, there isn't.
You know what? Yeah. Hey, CW, whoever.
Warner, it's Warner Media.
Warner Media?
We got you all day long. Because the thing about Babylon 5 and Star Trek, I will admit, literally stole the format from them. Even though Deep Space Nine is one of my favorite Star Treks of all time. What they did so well was, yes, it was a contained, place. It was a gigantic space station, but they told all these different types of stories. They had political intrigue, they had detective mystery, they had horror, they had a war, for God's sakes, happen in the whole thing. It was just fertile ground with these wonderful characters. I hope we don't have the same problem with Babylon 5, the reboot, that we have with Cowboy Bebop. Because some of those, Susan Ivanova is still the most bitchin' captain and military leader out there. I just don't know how you redo that. It's like trying to redo Firefly in my mind, without the same cast. Is it a
reboot or is it a continuation?
It is from the ground reboot, and that is in quotes, of Babylon 5 with the original writer and showrunner, though.
I am always more suspicious of from the ground reboots.
Yeah.
Because I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's tough.
It's going to be tough because Bruce Boxleiter was fantastic as John Sheridan. Mila Furlan, Delenn, Claudia Christian as Susan Ivanova, Jerry Doyle as our security chief, Michael Garibaldi. One of the more fantastic characters in all of TV, the way that he pulled that through. And then, of course, you've got Jakar, you've got Sinclair, you got all these people that they can't bring back, and Peter Jurassic as Londo Mollari. Okay, the way that he and fucking Jakar play off each other in the show, again, you are gonna have a hard time replicating that with people, and I hope I'm wrong making this prediction, but those are such beloved characters in the deep sci-fi universe.
Some of the cast is dead, and that's fine.
And that's the problem.
And here's the thing that almost makes it better to do a continuation, because you just said it later.
Well, and there's plenty of that. That's where, and we do this a lot in Identico, where the political intrigue thing comes in, because much like I watched the entire history of Titanfall last night because I couldn't sleep. So I watched. It's got a fantastic story, and this is why people want Titanfall 3 so much. And I've never even played Titanfall 2. I just watched the story now, and I'm so hooked into it. I'm I don't really care about the gameplay. I bet the gameplay was fun, but the story is where I'm at, and how it leads into the Apex games and all this kind of stuff. that whole thing is fantastic, you know, and it leads me into the whole Halo. We were talking about Paramount Plus and stuff like that. It leads me into the whole Halo series that's coming up that I am super wary of, because Paramount Plus, it looks weird to see Paramount Plus's logo above the Halo logo. Right? It's a Microsoft property that we've known for so long, and just Paramount Plus is not a great brand name. I know that's what it is, but if you've ever been to like Carowinds, which is technically Paramount's like theme park or whatever, man, their branding even on the Hanna-Barbera rides and shit like that, like it's just not. Yeah, you don't. There's no connection there. It's just not there.
Look, I have a Paramount Plus subscription. I had a CBS Plus, whatever the fuck it was called before that, before they did the merging of the thing.
Yeah.
It's actually a better streaming service than most people give it credit for.
Oh, I imagine it is. If you're a Star Trek fan, definitely.
And CBS and Paramount have good production capabilities, right? And Halo's a great franchise, and yeah, the branding looks weird. I'm super wary of it too, because I'm kind of like,
I'm just chat. Joe in the chat. The nerds are gonna kill the Halo series. I
probably.
Yeah, I'm really worried about it.
I have to imagine that Halo's not gonna do about how Cortana looks CG. Cortana is CG. She's a fucking computer chip. God dang it. She's an AI compression.
This is getting rebroadcast in your store, so you're the one saying it.
I am really, really frustrated with fans sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cortana looks CG. No,
but it's not blue Cortana though. It's not like it was in the video game. And that's...
I don't care. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay? Like, this comes back to the Arrowverse. Sometimes we as fans complain about the dumbest stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Little stuff like that should not make or break the show, but y'all will get into Reddit threads and Twitter threads where you turn that into the entire show.
Well, and
it's what happened to Bebop.
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly what happened to Bebop.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing too, is there's critique and then there's complaining.
Gator Pete's in the chat saying the same thing. Same kind of fans hating on a Bebop. I just noticed that. That's exactly what happened to Bebop.
I do appreciate though that like they brought back Jen Taylor, who is the voice of Cortana. Mm-hmm. Like they're making it as accurate as possible, and I think that at least when it comes to the voice acting and stuff like that, and that part I appreciate a lot. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play this out with the rest of the series, because it can look cheesy real quick if it's not done properly. And the thing that I think the Halo games have done in terms of the visual graphics and things like that have done much better than I think a live action is going to do. I'm going to watch it. We will talk about it on the show when it comes out. I will figure out how to get it, because I don't think I have a Paramount Plus subscription. Even though I need to catch up on Picard and all of that kind of stuff for many reasons. So
speaking of Halo, the original developer of Halo.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's all right. Segue.
Okay.
We're professionals.
Halo has been purchased.
Yep.
By Sony. By Sony. I'm like, of all of the companies that could have bought Bungie.
Yes.
Like,
of all the companies that hadn't already owned Bungie.
Sony? Well, Sony, but Microsoft owned them from 2000 to 2007, and then they spun them off. They were like, go away. We don't like you anymore.
No, they bought themselves out.
Right. So they were an independent company. Right. Now they've been acquired by Sony. Which I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This one to me is weirder than the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Like, I don't know what Sony's doing.
What they're doing is trying to compete with Fortnite, because And I made this comment in the Discord
What
right
does that
before.
have to do with, what does this have to do with Bungie?
Because Bungie knows how to run a live service. Destiny 2 has given them enough money to not only continue improving and making better versions of Destiny 2 with their expansion schedule actually staying on track for the most part. For the most part, COVID was what it is. But they've been, as a small studio in Bellevue, have been pumping out regular content for Destiny 2.
Yep.
They've got the live service nailed. They're working on an as yet unannounced second IP, which I'm not going to claim to know a ton of it for many reasons, but they have job openings for an unannounced new IP, and that's what they say.
Right.
Sony came out in their earnings call today and said they're going to release 10 live services, and that's their words, not mine, live services by 2026. That is why they bought Bungie, because Bungie knows how to do it already, and Sony doesn't.
A lot by 2026.
It is a
I want
lot.
to point out something that chat, and specifically I'm talking to you, Gator Pete. Microsoft bought Bethesda for $5 billion and Sony bought Bungie for $3.6. Microsoft got a better deal.
I don't believe that.
So.
Bethesda, I don't like Bethesda games, so I don't believe that.
Now here's the thing: I like Bethesda games, and Fallout's a cool IP, and Bungie only owns Destiny. Really, for any, I'm looking right now.
That's all they needed to own. They make a lot of money off that game.
I know. I'm saying, like, as far as IP goes, they didn't go. They're not a public company, so I'm not going to be able to get a hold of their financials.
Yeah. Well, they will be soon.
Bethesda also equals Doom.
I don't like the Doom series as the player. I'll watch people play Doom.
IP, though.
It's a great IP. I'll watch people play Doom all day. I hate playing Doom myself. That's a great viewer. That's a great viewer game for me.
You might be right, Gator Pete. They might have gotten a better deal overall for the value of the IPs that Bethesda own versus what Bungie has. Now, here's the thing. Bungie went 4 years between the last Halo game that they released for Microsoft and Destiny. Mm-hmm. God knows what, since Destiny 2 came out, 2018? 2017.
2017,
wow,
yeah.
A while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah. And it's still relevant.
And Bonkers only knows what they've been working on as far as new IP since then.
I will say what I can say.
Destiny.
We might start running more Destiny raids on the server again. We'll see. I miss a good shoot 'em up. Halo does okay.
I do too, but I didn't want the grind. It's because it's a shoot 'em up with the grind of an MMO.
Yeah, it's a looter. It's like a looter shooter plus MMO, which is why it does such gangbusters with most people.
I understand, but for me, that's a weird combination that I'm like, because like in MMO, I'm used to the grind. Like New World, like okay, I'm in that lovely mid-30s bracket now. Strap in, it's going to be a while, right? I don't want that out of my looter shooters.
But I mean, Destiny's kind of always been that way, and
I know, and I remember hearing the looter shooter guys complaining about it, like, what is this? I'm like, oh, this is your first MMO.
Yeah. But the thing that Destiny does really well, and since playing New World and seeing their watermarking system and stuff like that, I now get why Destiny, like, why you have to grind the raids in Destiny such as it is. Mm-hmm. Destiny gives you an actual PvP system worth a damn. And that's the one that I think really does very well, because I actually enjoy playing Destiny PvP and the PvE aspects of it and stuff like that, because they're unique. They are differentiated from like a Halo or a Call of Duty and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Battlefield this week, by the way, is officially dead. Rest in peace. Thank you, EA.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Thank you, EA, for literally killing an entire community. I'm gonna be salty about that one for years. But that's where Destiny succeeds, and I think a lot of the back end stuff, like the thing that I find interesting the most about the Bungie stuff is that they got to a place that Steam got to where they have a formula and they have expertise, and they're doing these wacky experiments behind the scenes that aren't making the light of day, but you can imagine what it could do given enough publishing power. Unlike Steam, they're actually going to go do something with it. And I think that is fantastic. Destiny 2 is still in the top 10 of PlayStation games. Think about that. Like, a looter shooter from 2017 is still in the top 10 of PlayStation games.
Look,
it's crazy.
It wasn't my cup of tea, but I recognized that it was an extremely popular game that a lot of people really, really loved.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting acquisition on Sony's part. They have to know something.
They know something
very specific that this. Oh, speaking of Sony and Sony related projects, we are not going to have to wait 8 more years for Remake Part 2
of Final Fantasy 7. Oh, okay. I was like, there's a lot of remakes out there. You're gonna have to be more specific.
Remake Part 2, because if you recall, they released the first teaser that FF7 Remake was happening.
Yeah.
In 2014.
Right. Yeah. Or as I like to call it, Advent Children, the video game, because it makes about as much sense as that movie. Because somebody in one of my chats said that Final Fantasy Advent Children was a good movie, and I
liked Advent Children for what it was.
Yes.
If you were going into this expecting it to be anything that like needs to make sense,
I expected it to be coherent in something.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII has never been really coherent. That's why there's 15 years of YouTube videos about theories about how Final Fantasy VII worked.
True. I will say, here's the other thing too, though, is like Sony. So Sony, the big knock on Sony has always been that they have a lot of great first-party titles. And I've got a PlayStation 5. I was one of the lucky ones that got one. They've outsold
Xbox.
They've outsold Xbox, even though the Xbox is way more available. And I know that Xbox's plan is not necessarily always on the consoles. I get that. We've talked about that at length. Gran Turismo 7 looks fantastic. Cannot wait to really dive into
Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one, but it falls into some of the Ubisoft titles where I'm like, cool concept, bro, but I'm tired of just going around open world fighting the same things 100 times when I'm not doing it with friends. That's the difference between like a Horizon or like a New World.
Horizon wasn't Ubisoft, was it? Horizon.
No, but it follows the same formula. Open world, gotta discover the things and do the puzzle, and it's like Breath of the Wild. Actually, I enjoyed Horizon better than Breath of the Wild. But Sony just put God of War out on PC, and it's got like a 93% Metacritic rating. Like, it's doing really well on PC, and so like Sony is, I think, Sony is seeing what's happening with Windows and Xbox and going, okay, cool, hold our beer. We still have the better properties, and we're going to come out there for you.
This is the downside that Microsoft has to being the ubiquitous operating system, is you can't stop Sony
exactly
from releasing their stuff on your platform.
Yeah.
They're just going to go, yeah, here you go.
Yep.
Because you decided you wanted to be the computer on every desktop, computer in every home, platform. This is what you get, Microsoft. You can't gate off.
Yeah, you can't gate off for everybody else. Yep.
And so now Sony gets the best of both worlds. They get to sell to everybody who bought a PS5, and they get to sell to everybody who has a Windows box.
Yep.
Which is 80-90% of the video game industry.
No, I don't think it's quite that much, but it's a significant new market for them.
As either a PlayStation, a PC, or both, versus the percentage of video game players who only own an Xbox or a Nintendo.
Oh, okay.
That's got to be less than 10%.
No, because Nintendo takes a serious chunk out of that in the last MPD data, because there's a lot of people
who only own a Nintendo.
Yeah, they only own a Switch. And let's be honest, those people aren't going to play God of War.
No. they've
that's not your
captured
target
so
market.
much more of the market that Microsoft just can't touch.
Yeah. Well, and chat seems to agree. They're saying it's stupid good. A lot of love for Christopher Judge in the chat and stuff. Which, I mean, I have not played the game because I got my PlayStation after God of War came out, and I haven't had a chance to play it on PC yet. I've got to still get through the Jedi games, and there's a long list of games, single player games I need to eventually get through. But yeah, it's another one of those games that just looks beautiful too, and so they do such a fantastic job with the way that they're producing the studios that they're bringing on board. There was also talk that they should just schlep up Hairbrain Studios while they're at it, and Sony, a couple of the other Bellevue studios that are smaller ones around here, because they do some really good work.
I'm trying to think. Quite frankly, in my opinion, Sony's done a better job since the start of the 8th gen. Since PS4, Xbox One.
Yes.
I think that Microsoft...
Having owned them all, yes, I would say that.
And we all remember the E3 where Microsoft fumbled. The same E3 where PS4 and Xbox One were both premiered, right? Mm-hmm. And if we all remember, the Kinect is an integral part of the Xbox One. We can't sell an Xbox One without a Kinect. 7 months later, okay, here's your Xbox One without the Kinect. Oh no, you can't loan games on Xbox One. Here comes Sony with their hastily produced commercial. Here's how you loan games on the Sony PlayStation 4. Right? Ever since then, Microsoft's not ever, I don't think, ever really been able to get momentum.
I mean, they're doing just fine though.
No, they're doing fine.
You say that they're not getting momentum. They're doing just fine, even compared to Sony.
And don't get me wrong. Hey, Microsoft, don't bust my chops. I'm trying to buy 12 Series X's right now. Dead Series 12. Okay. And by the way, if you happen to be watching, we're working on the Halo League esports stuff, so work with me here. Okay. If you could get me those Series X's.
Why do you need Series X and not Series S? You don't need the Series S.
The S does not run, I'm being told by the esports league, the S does not run Halo 5 at the level the competitors want it at. It has to
my
be Series
God.
X.
They gotta see. Serious. They have to see the teabagging in 4K.
Apparently, these fools say they can tell the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS. Fine, they want the frames.
I'll still go 14-2 with them while listening to AEW theme music.
Gator Pete's saying exactly what they're telling me. They want the frames, and the esports people, if you're not doing PCs, they've said that the Series X. Now, actually, something I learned this week, and good on you, Microsoft. Thank you for this. They're supporting local LAN support again.
Yeah.
For Halo.
Good.
Okay.
Because I think that's a much better way to play if you're going to do an esports.
You can now local LAN Halo, and that is how we will be running Halo esports at the store, is with local LAN. You will not be connecting over Xbox Live. You'll be doing it with local LAN, and that's how you'll do your tournaments.
Well, and that's, to me, a much better way to do it because the latency is... it's not the frame rates that I worry about, it's the latency. So that's the problem that I always end up into.
Microsoft is now supporting local LAN connections for Series X's through a centralized PC, which apparently doesn't take that much runtime on the PC to Probably just not. Be the clearinghouse.
Yeah,
to just be
it's a lot of it's client side, anyways.
Yeah,
for the way because Microsoft doesn't make you pay for servers.
The only thing the computer's doing, your PC is doing, is managing the connections, and that's it.
Yeah,
to the Switch. So, I have a local LAN support. Microsoft further becoming gaming pros. Yes, but I had a meeting with the Halo esports people last week, and I was recently informed that Halo Worlds are back this year. By the way, anybody who didn't know?
That announcement came out 2 days ago. I think
they will be in Seattle this October. Mm-hmm. I am working with some of their esports folks, not at Microsoft, but the tertiary people.
Yeah.
So Microsoft, if you're watching.
Yeah,
we're right down the road. I'm 20 minutes from campus, dude.
This is the thing. Well, we're more than 20 minutes from campus, but
later at night.
Okay, yeah. At night, when there's nobody on the road and no construction. Yeah. It's fine. You're just on the other side of the lake, but It's interesting, and I think, like I said, this is the reason I think Sony bought Bungie, because Microsoft has multiplayer, has always been the multiplayer leader, might always be the multiplayer leader for all we know, and Sony just may not necessarily need to dethrone them, but definitely wants a piece of that pie and the diversification and stuff like that we have.
For sure.
We're gonna. It's unfortunate that we're gonna end up with like 4 mega companies in gaming soon. I'm waiting for Nintendo. Who are they gonna buy this week? It's not done. It's only Wednesday, so we can,
The only reason I'm not as concerned about the video game industry, because you saw we had the drama about WotC again come up this week.
No, I'm bloody well immune to it half the time because it happens so often.
About once a quarter, for those of you listening on the podcast and chat, about once a quarter, the tabletop RPG community as a collective starts gnashing their teeth about the fact that WotC controls probably ballpark 65 to 80% of the tabletop RPG market.
Yeah.
Right? Conservatively. And everybody goes, that's bad. And then everybody goes, yeah. And then everybody goes, what are we going to do about it? And then I'll be like, there's things you can do about it. And then they're like, no, we can't do that.
We can't support smaller things. That would be wrong.
We go around this circle about once a quarter. And it is an issue in the tabletop RPG industry. The nice thing about the video game industry is, and this is where streamers really come into play, this is where the smaller communities that really can blow stuff up for video games really come into play. You can still launch a extremely successful game out of a 4-person studio.
Yeah.
You can do it, and you can tell Microsoft and everybody else to get bent, and you can stick yourself on itch.io or Steam or Epic, and you can still do it. It is possible. Yeah. So there is still, I would say it is a far more equitable market in the video game industry, even with this consolidation, than the board game or tabletop. Actually, board games are just as bad as tabletop RPGs. There's like 4 companies that control most of that market.
I think so, but I think
I think video games are just a better marketplace for independent, smaller creators to come up and build great products, have them sell, and be commercially viable.
There's more tools within Unity and some of the other ones than there is. Is a game is not easy to develop no matter what platform it's on, because you have to understand game theory and the balance and everything like that. But there are a lot more tools and ways to get started in software. It does have a higher ceiling to get into because there's just more work to do in coding and all of that sort of piece.
Art directing and development.
Yeah, there's a ton of that kind of stuff. So now video games tend to it's easier to reach a wider audience, I think is where you're getting at.
Yes.
Because of the Steam stores and stuff like that. When you are an independent RPG creator, I don't know any of those guys though, or an independent board game maker and things, it's much harder to reach a wider audience because the distributors and the ways that you break into the industry are tougher. And social media and advertising and things like that only take you so far.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult, which we still haven't talked about Kickstarter and blockchain, and I really don't feel like doing that tonight. No, and all of the changes to that, but that's another one that I think is going to have run its course to be doing the pre-ordering and things like that for it. So, lost in all of this, by the way, is the most important story of the week, is that the New York Times bought Wordle.
Oh, jeez.
Speaking of independent games. I don't know why they bought it. I mean, I guess they realized the New York Times, crossword puzzle wasn't good enough, and now they've bought Wordle, which I have blocked on all of my Twitter. Everything.
My understanding is that the Wordle people had said in an interview that the idea came to them from doing the Times crossword puzzle, and the Times felt some need. My interesting thing about the Wordle acquisition is this. Was How much did they buy it for? Low seven figures?
Yeah, but I
Like-
mean,
Here's the thing. It's a piece of software that blew up and has gone like semi-viral, and people really like it, and people log in. I've seen more shit about Wordle in the last month than I had ever, you know.
it's a blocked
could've gotten-
blocked term on my Twitter feed because I get tired of waking up in the morning and seeing just nothing but those.
People's Wordles.
Yeah.
You totally could have gotten more than seven figures. Low seven figures.
I don't know
Which means less than 5 million? Like, that's what you sold it to the Times for?
Yeah, but I mean, think about how much.
Microsoft would have kicked you 11.
Well, maybe
I'm-
maybe not though. Maybe not. I mean, it's because these are kind of fly-by-night sort of games, right? Like everybody remembers Candy Crush and stuff like that. I don't think that's dominating the charts anymore. It could be
I know.
wrong.
I mean, King, like we talked about that during the Activision thing, right? King's King thing. I mean, they're still doing 150 million a year with all their Candy Crush clones.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I don't understand about all of this. Because I worked in newspapers back in the before times, way before times. I'm gonna date myself a little bit. They're not bastions of technology innovation and new ideas. And I even subscribe to the New York Times so I can keep up on certain things, and I would say that they're definitely not bastions of technology innovation. So, I mean, kudos to the creators of Wordle for getting a decent payday, probably in line with probably what they felt like was worth it. I'm just so like that. I don't think that game's gonna. I mean, maybe it's fine that the game's not gonna change and stuff like that. Like, but that would not be the place where I would think the New York Times would be pushing gaming going. I'm just it's just such a foreign concept to me, having known people who work there, you know, partnered with some of them myself. It's just so strange.
Data Pete brings up New York Times doesn't know how to deal with the ad blockers. Their subscriber rate can't be very high.
It actually is. There's still a lot of boomers out there who subscribe to the New York Times.
Well, and I think that you got to subscribe to that. So there's a lot of boomers. Like, first off, on the East Coast, we're having a Times subscription. You can actually get the Daily Times outside of New York and a lot of places in the East Coasters.
He says East Coast.
Yes. Freaking. I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah, but it's like having. I mean, I should say this too. I have a subscription to the Washington Post, the Seattle Times. I have a subscription to a lot of them because I support my old brethren in the field. But
as of third quarter 2021, the Times says they have 8.4 million total subscriptions. 7.6 million are digital only.
yeah,
So
a lot of
they were
displaced
down to-
New Yorkers.
They were down to about 800,000 subscribers, like that received the physical paper, and then I don't know how many like just people walking down the streets in Manhattan buy a paper every day just to look smart.
There's not a ton, and you used to get them delivered to your door when you were traveling and stuff like that. Like the thing about the digital editions,
I always get USA Today.
you can get either one back in the day, but now, I mean, the thing about the digital subscription is it's all pure profit, right? There's no overhead in terms of, you know, the server space and stuff like that
Whatever the
is,
servers cost them,
yeah, it's nominal compared to what the cost of newsprint is, which continues to go up every 6 months, I think. So it's probably better that their paper subscriptions are going down for their bottom line. So cool.
So there you go.
Yeah.
There's your tech quick hits for the week, people.
We got a whole episode.
Just keeping us up for research. Probably about a quarter, I would say, chat. Our journalists and independents, journalists keeping us up for research. Probably.
Some of it, yeah. You can get a lot of stuff just via their website or via like Apple News too.
Probably 50,000. Here's the thing. I don't know if they have a commercial subscription system.
They don't.
For
Most
like other
newspapers don't.
newsrooms
They don't.
to do. So yeah,
you,
right.
you subscribe to the Wire. You subscribe to the Associated Press Wire, and you subscribe to the Reuters Wire, and then the New York Times stuff is part of those news wires. So you can get them ahead of them actually going up on the site, or in as near enough real time as possible, and you can pull it in there. So
Tip, no Kamigawa love. Yes, I will have.
Yeah.
We actually were surprised. I have an allocation of Kamigawa. I've been told by our Magic people that Kamigawa is going to be a big deal in the community. I'll be selling it.
We'll see. Let's
drops in
the art is beautiful. Let's see how it plays.
The mechanical card previews that everybody's been reviewing has said it's supposed to be pretty good. I'll have some pre-built decks and booster sets at the store, which you guys can come see us.
Yeah,
at your local hobby shop. That's right.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how well it flies, because it's a Japanese-inspired cyberpunk kind of. They're using the hashtag MTG Neon for crying out loud for this one, so it's a very different style for Magic the Gathering. So I'm excited. I'm gonna probably get some. So,
is that it?
That's it for tonight. Next week, because we've had some chat about it in the chat. Next week, it's all Book of Boba Fett, because it's the series finale for Book of Boba Fett / Mandalorian Season 3 preview.
The best one I heard today was we're just going to start calling it Grogu and Friends.
We will get into this. I'm assuming you've seen the episode for tonight, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, spoilers for that thingy.
Nope. No.
TikTok,
yeah.
Everywhere.
Stay off social media if you
don't want to know.
Yeah.
Dude, those things were up on TikTok by noon.
Oof, yeah. We're going to have a full Book of Boba Fett recap next week.
We're bringing lots of guests.
We're going to try to, yeah. Well, Joe's got to get to feeling better. We got people who we want to bring in. I think Michael still wants to come in and do that one as well. So we will have a full panel for next week's show.
Probably an extended discussion. Because boy, howdy, did this one take a left turn on us. And there's so much to discuss because of it.
Dude, that's right.
Yeah. Hey, for anybody who's local to the Seattle area, and if you're listening to this on the podcast or the YouTube and you're in the Seattle area, we run weekly Identico games at the Gamers Heaven in Linwood, Washington.
Yep.
Y'all should see us. It's 6 to 10 p.m. every Thursday. Okay. Last week we started, and then Mallo jumped in.
Yep.
And ran that sucker, and it was great. It was a phenomenal session. Newcomers and experienced players are both welcome, but y'all should come. If you've wanted to play Identico or want to try it,
yeah,
swing by the store.
I'm running tomorrow night, unless we have to split into 2 tables, and then we're going to both run tomorrow night, I think.
Yes, but I think as long as, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. The numbers of people who have said they were coming already is scary in that, so we'll have to figure out how we're going to do this. But come one, come all. We'll figure it out.
We've run groups of 10. We're fine.
It's fine. We'll figure it out. But we will both be there tomorrow night for the Identico night. It's always a good time. Come get some boba, sit down, and cause some chaos with me.
Throw some dice with us. And then I apologize. It was my wife's birthday. That's why we had no Chaos Inc. this week.
Yep.
So we will be back in 2 weeks, I promise, with more Chaos Inc. on Monday nights.
We will we'll put up some more YouTube videos in the interim, probably on Monday. This will come up. Look for us on Book of Boba Fett on
Wednesday.
On next Wednesday. Sorry, my days got scrambled because I was supposed to be traveling this week too. Until then, Friday and Saturday are going to be our off days, but hit us up in the Discord or on the socials at Identico, just about anywhere. Until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, drink your water, take your vitamins. Gator Pete just gave us a gift sub right at the end. Oh, also, if you are, you tell your friends about us, because we've had a lot of people watching tonight, and I appreciate that. We are looking to get to a custom URL on YouTube. So I want to thank everybody that gave us subs tonight. So we got Gator Pete, we got Tip, we got Bit Player, another one from Tip, the Neon Robot last week. We've also got some bits. So
we need
welcome
100 subs, right?
Yep. Welcome into the Whispering Woods. Welcome into Sir Laugh a Lot. You know, appreciate all of that. So welcome in. Welcome to the community. But if you haven't already, go to our YouTube channel. Search Identico, IDENTECO into YouTube. You'll see our channel. It comes up. It's got the neon ID. I want to thank Zane Reaver, Lancer Boy, Evanissimo, Trungbon, who was actually at my Identico game last week and enjoyed it. I really hope that he comes back this week with his hacker, because that was fun. Identity Staff and Bellboz. I think actually I did Bellboz the week before that, but thank you to our latest subs over on the YouTube channel as well. If you are in the podcast world, go over to our YouTube channel, hit that sub button, hit the bell so you let us know and you never miss a video from us, and then just throw us a shout out on there so we can thank you as well. Give us reviews on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the places you get your podcast. I think we're on Podcast Addict now too. I got an email from them.
Cool.
So just, give us some reviews, give us some shout outs. We'll give you a shout out as well, and thank you for all of that. So we appreciate it so much. This channel has grown so much since we started it. So and it's all because of you all out there. So until then, have fun, be safe out there, and stay weird. Okay?
Yes.
Good night, everybody.